Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Community Empowerment Hour. My name is Maury Mungeon, and I, along with Marlene Andre, who will be joining us a little bit later for the Q&A segment, will be your host for this evening. We would like to welcome everyone to this evening's program, where our goal is to empower you with practical knowledge that we believe will help guide you through your everyday lives. There are so many things that we've hopefully blessed you with that you can take those little nuggets and apply it to the things you do each and every day. We've talked about business, we've talked about health, we talked about cooking. So we are prayerful that this information will bless you in a way only that God can bless you with. If this is your first time visiting with us, or have never even seen our program or anything, we have a website that you will be able to visit to pull up that information that we've, all the programs that we put on in the past. And the website, I'm going to ask if Marlene can put it in the chat box, but it's empowered4health.com or empowered4health. I know it's a dot somewhere, but it's in the chat. Yes, .com. A lot of things are .org, and I wasn't sure if it was .org or .com, but it is .com. So you're able, if you can, you're able to go there and look at all the programs we've done in the past. And I'm sure there's something in that stack where in which you will find something that will benefit you as well as your family. Also, if we don't, please put your email address in the chat so that we can definitely keep you informed of our upcoming programs as well, so you won't be left in the dark. We pretty much send a reminder out like a week or so before, and then a couple of days before, and then the day of. So we want to keep you in the loop of what we have coming through Pipe. So tonight is no different. We have a powerful presentation for you tonight with Rico Hill. And while he's presenting too, if there's something that he says or something that he says sparks something in your head that you want to ask a question about, please put your question in the chat box. And because after the presentation, we will have a Q&A session after. So again, if you have something that you would like to ask, put in the chat box. And we will definitely, at our very best, try to have Rico Hill respond to that question. Okay, I believe that's all I have to say. And before I bring up Mr. Hill, I would like to just have a word of prayer. So let us pray. Father, we thank you. We truly thank you for the opportunity where we can come together and to learn. There's so much out there to learn. And sometimes it doesn't take sitting in a university or a school of some sort, but just to be sitting at home and logging in this Zoom meeting and learning is a blessing. So we thank you, Lord, for the technology that you've given us. We thank you, Lord, for our presenter this evening, Mr. Hill. We pray that you would be with him and the information that you've given him to share. May those watching this evening or maybe viewing a year from today on YouTube, may they be blessed and touched and lives changed through what they hear. So we thank you in advance for what you're about to do. And we thank you most of all for hearing and answering our prayer. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay, without further ado, I am going to turn the program over to Mr. Hill.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, one and all those who have tuned in to our program this evening. I'm so delighted that you've joined and that I get the opportunity to share with you one of my favorite, in fact, From Sickness to Health. You know, the world is experiencing some pretty serious sickness with the pandemic. And now as we approach, not even approach, we are there. We are what they call flu season, the season where people come down with all manner of viral infections and end up sick. But we want to be preventative. We want to share information with you this evening, things that you can do from the most practical standpoint imaginable, simple things, using simple natural remedies, doing things, eating differently, doing things that may nudge you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but nonetheless, it will pay amazing dividends. And I am excited to be sharing with you some things that you can do. And I hope that you will take them to heart and begin to incorporate them in your lifestyle, especially now with us entering into this season. Now, as we get started, I want you to go from sickness to health. Now, I used to be a television executive for Nickelodeon and MTV and Turner Broadcasting, where I learned something as I was for many years producing programs for kids and adults and families. I realized that I was part and parcel, somewhat responsible for causing sickness, causing people to experience sickness. Why? Because I was producing television that people, were sort of inclined or, motivated, if I can use that word, to sit in front of a television and just chill out, veg out, be a couch potato, if you will. And usually with all of the barrage of programming and through commercials and just a steady stream of eat this, buy that, do this, consume, consume, consume. Well, you know what? People do it. And they would typically be sitting there, as they call it now, binge watching and binge eating, and people would get sick. Well, I'm thankful that today that I no longer am a part of that. Instead, I'm into not producing sick people, but producing healthy people. And I'm hoping that tonight, from just this talk, as we enter into this flu season, having been within a pandemic, and it's all about viral infections. And there's an interesting statistic. They found over the course of the last 18 months, almost 2 years now, that we have found that those who have come down with the coronavirus infection have had what they call comorbidities or underlying conditions. You probably have heard that many times. And what are they? We're talking about the basics. We're talking about heart disease. We're talking about diabetes. We're talking about hypertension or high blood pressure and obesity, those main four. And they found that 94.9%, almost 95% of the people who were suffering from or had the worst outcomes of coronavirus, COVID-19, were people who had these preconditions. Only 6% were those who just were healthy, like, the typical person. But those who did not follow a health regimen, who did not eat in a way that was healthy, who did not regularly exercise, those who did not manage their stress, those who, felt like, they say that you need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. I'm going to get 3. Those people who did that were the ones who were sickest and came down with it. And sometimes the results were sometimes fatal. And that's unfortunate. But tonight, we want to avoid that as we go forward. We know not what the future holds, but we know this, that there are things that you and I can do, begin to do right now, and we can have a much better experience. So we want you to go from sickness to health. And I'm hoping that you'll start right away, and not only for yourself, but your family, your friends, even your enemies. You can share the things that you learned tonight. So let's get started. First of all, we want to get healthy. Look at the slide before you. And please let me know if the slides are not changing. Sometimes that happens with Zoom, but so far it looks like they are, but you will let me know, those who are watching and chatting and having the experience visually. So we want to get healthy with the things that you see. We want the colorful foods that come right from nature. We want to actually begin to exercise and move. You know, it was Dr. Dean Ornish who worked with former president, that's who it was, former President Bill Clinton. When Bill Clinton came down with heart disease, and by all intents and purposes, he actually had a heart attack. He had a heart attack, and the doctors, they told him, you can find this right on CNN, on a YouTube clip of that announcement. They said, we want you to know that Bill Clinton is doing better, and his diet had nothing to do with it. Well, Dr. Dean Ornish, who has written amazing books on reversing heart disease, he contacted Bill Clinton and says, you know what? Your best friends are the ones who tell you the truth. And he says, I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is, you need to change your diet. And Bill Clinton listened to him, and he reversed his heart disease, even though Bill Clinton was jogging almost every morning. Unfortunately, oftentimes when he was jogging to a McDonald's, and he would get, according to Bill Clinton himself, he would get himself a milkshake, a double, what do you call it, a quarter pounder with cheese, and an apple pie. So this was the situation for Bill Clinton, as he was appearing to have a healthy lifestyle, but what he was putting into his body was not the best thing for the best results. So we want to change that. There's another story. There was this DJ. This is written about in a book by Dr. Neil Barnard. Neil Barnard actually has written seminal books on, especially one on diabetes, how to overcome and reverse diabetes. A lot of people don't know that you can actually reverse that. Well, he wrote this book, and he tells a story in that book on reversing diabetes. And he talks about this DJ who was very healthy, ran 10 miles a day, every day. And yet this man who ran 10 miles a day, every single day, one day on his run through the woods, collapsed, had a heart attack, and died. Well, he had a heart attack, collapsed, and died, in that order. And everyone wondered, why could, or how could someone so healthy, so active, die so suddenly? And he was only, I believe, in his late 40s, something like that. Well, the answer is that this man had a sick heart, and he didn't know it, based on what he was putting into his body. So as we think about reversing the kinds of issues that weaken our body, that cause us to have colds and flu, and even come down with the coronavirus, COVID-19 coronavirus, there are things that we can do and that we should do, start getting healthy and reversing these things. Let's keep going. So what we want to look at first and foremost is how to prevent and even fight colds and flu. Let me explain. So we'll look at how that we can be much more preventative. But what happens if you actually do everything you can, and yet you still come down with a cold or the flu? There are things that you can do, and I want to share with you what those things are. And I'm very excited tonight that the team has a website and a place where you can go to get more information, where you can go and look at the archived information and continue to learn. That's the key. Information is power, and we're sharing information that will be powerful for you. So I'm going to let them know, I'm going to give them a recipe. I'm not going to give it here. I'm going to talk about it and I'll walk through it, but you want the specifics of this recipe, which you can start to take right now. It's something that you have some of those ingredients in your cupboard, in your refrigerator. It's so simple. And I'm telling you, it is as powerful as a flu shot. So you'll want this information. I'll talk about it towards the end of my presentation. You can ask me more questions. You can ask me questions about it as we take the Q&A in the Q&A section of this presentation. But I want you to go and get the exact ingredients so you can start making it and take your nature's flu shot. But you'll have to reach out to the group here and get that information in the way in which they say that you should get it. I'll provide the information to them. So let's first talk about how we can prevent. Then we'll talk about how to fight it once you get it. So let's look at how to prevent colds and flu. Question: why aren't our bodies fighting colds and flu naturally? Weren't they designed to do that? Don't we have killer cells, T killer cells or T cells? These are the part of our immune system that goes and fights for us when a virus or some other pathogen, a bacteria, once it comes in, the body begins to fight, right? Naturally, but yet we start to get sick, especially this time of the year. Well, you need to know, Benjamin Franklin said, an ounce of prevention, who can finish that sentence? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It was Benjamin Franklin who said that, as he was talking about, it wasn't dealing with disease. He was talking about avoiding different types of, tragic fires and things like that. Well, guess what? We find that when we don't take care of our body, there's a fire in us. It's called inflammation. And when we have inflammation, that usually comes as a result of something that has entered in the body and has started to do its work. And that work causes the body to heat up and you got fever. And now you're fighting against something, right? But so what Benjamin Franklin said actually applies to what we're looking at this evening, how to prevent colds and flu in this quote unquote, and I'm using air quotes for a reason. So stick around as I share with you why I'm saying to you so-called flu season. I call it something else, but stick around. I'll share with you what I mean by that. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Let's prove this as we look at preventing colds and flus in 6 areas. Number 1, what you wear. Number 2, what you eat. Number 3, what you drink. Number 4, hygiene, cleanliness. Number 5, exercise. And number 6, that good old rest. We're going to talk about that. So in 6 areas, I want to share with you how you can prevent colds and flu. Now, keep in mind as we go through, write down your questions. We'll do our best to answer those as best we can. All right. Number 1, how should we dress? To keep the body warm is to actually protect your circulation and actually have healthy circulation. Circulation is the key to all health. In order to have good health, this is one of my favorite quotes. In order to have good health, we should have good and perfect, actually perfect circulation. Why? Let's think about that. We should understand the physiology. It is important not only to hear the information, but to understand the information so that the information can be applied. Let me say that again. It's one thing to just hear the information. That's nice. But it's better and more important and comprehensive to be able to understand why. We should ask the question, why? What is it about dressing? Well, as it gets colder, it is true, it's not just a wives' tale. As it gets colder, our body goes through a change. We've been in summer, we've been warm, and now the body is going to go through a change, if you will, adjusting to the climate. And one of the things that we do when it starts to get cold is we don't dress properly. Number one, notice I have on long sleeve shirts. Why? I have on long pants. You probably do too. But oftentimes, even during the summertime, I often will do that as well. Why? Because it's so important to keep your body covered and at the same temperature. See, what I've been doing over the summer, even on some of those hot days. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I will, if I go out to the lake and get on my kayak and that's how I'm exercising for that day, then you know what? I may wear something that is appropriate because I'm inside of a kayak. The sun is blazing, the water's, the sun is reflecting off of the water and I get that intense, sunshine. So I might dress down and do something that's more appropriate. However, perfect circulation is the key to good health. And when your arms and your legs are not covered properly, let me say that again, covered properly, it's been a long day, covered properly, then you begin to disrupt the natural circulation. What do I mean? So if your arms are chilly and your chest is warm because it's covered, well, guess what the blood does? The blood, just speaking physiologically, always moves to the area that's warmest. And oftentimes I watch, especially little children, and their arms are exposed. Even during the fall months, they figure, hey, we like it chilly. Yeah, but you can't do that without causing some injury. So as I dressed a certain way through the summer, light clothing, I'm not talking about something that's hot and unbearable, but I would wear something because I'm preparing my body for the fall. When the weather changes, when people are more sick, how will my immune system respond? So it is key, as we're talking about the summer being past and now we're in the fall, but even now you can begin to dress appropriately. Now, I save a lot of this for the end. I'll get into it in more detail, but even if you begin to get sick, here's what you should do. In other words, when you start to feel like you got a little bit of chills, a little bit of an ache, got something, a tickle in your throat, immediately warm the body so that circulation is covering the entire body from the feet to the top of your head. You want to warm the body as quickly as possible in 4 ways. Add clothing. That's an easy one. Dress with layers, put layers on, right? Stand near a heater. I cannot emphasize this enough. When you feel yourself getting sick, have a coat, or let me put it another way. Make sure that your body is covered in the most comprehensive way, that there's coverage from head to toe. Well, not head, you don't want to cover your head, but from neck to toe, maybe even a hat would help. But the key is to make sure that there's a balance, there's the word I'm looking for, between your extremities, that's your arms and your legs, and your chest and torso. So you want to make sure that you are covering your body. Stand near a heater. Take a hot bath immediately. And you can do brisk exercise, because of course, once you start to exercise, right, you heat up the body, the temperature rises, and you can fight. When you think about it, again, understanding what the body's doing, I'm telling you, we are so fearfully and wonderfully made. It's amazing how the human body wants to keep you healthy, wants to keep you safe, fights for you even, but we have to help and assist the body and giving it the right conditions, right? So what happens is when the body is heated up, even when a cold is coming or a pathogen has entered into the body starts to heat up. As I mentioned, that inflammation, you get a fever and you're all hot, right? What's taking place is the body is fighting, right? That's what it's doing. So when you take a hot bath, when you do exercise to heat the body up, when you stand near a heater, you are creating artificially a fever-like condition so that the body and the white blood cells do what they do. You're just assisting nature in what it's already going to do. Hope that makes sense to you. If something's not clear, please let me know at the end in our Q&A section of this presentation. So dress is one of the ways. Diet, as I mentioned, what you eat also is going to affect whether you will be successful in avoiding colds and flu this season or not. Now, they say that sugar feathers the nest. What do we mean by that? Sugar feathers the nest. When a bird feathers its nest, it's preparing for something. It's preparing for something to come and to actually occupy the space, right? Well, when we have tons and tons of sugar, we are feathering the nest for sickness and disease. We're preparing for it. See, the disease and the sickness doesn't come without a cause. We create the condition and it will come and occupy that space. So you don't want to feather the nest by actually having tons of sugary things. Let's talk about that. So is it flu season or is it sugar season? Well, in the question that I'm asking, I'm already revealing to you that I think it's sugar season. And a lot of peer-reviewed studies agree with what I'm saying. In fact, I got them. I got the information from peer-reviewed studies. And what they have found is that this period of time that they call flu season, there's a correlation. What do I mean by that? Something is taking place at a certain time that's somewhat different from the rest of the year, and it happens to coincidentally happen during the time that we call flu season. Well, yes, it gets chilly, and someone would like to argue, well, you know, it gets cold outside, and that's why people get sick sooner. Well, you know, there are tons of study going back before we even had state-of-the-art technology and the advanced sciences that they knew that that wasn't the case. It's really the environment. It's not the stuff that's out there. We're exposed to the elements all the time. We're exposed to pathogens, bacteria, and viruses all the time, but our bodies are able to withstand it and fight, right? So with that in mind, it can't just be that it's cold outside. Well, let's consider it further. Take, for example, this month. No. We're in November. Today's November 2nd. 2 days ago, the season began officially with Halloween. Why Halloween? Why am I picking on that day? Well, that's the day that we actually consume more sugar, at least kids do, more sugar than any other time of the year. You've seen the stores. They're spilling over with candies aisles and candy end caps and candy at the checkout stand. There's candy everywhere, right? And now you go back a few days later, and what happened to all the candy? Well, you know what? It was purchased and it was given to the kids, and they become a secret weapon. They become carriers, if you will. Carriers that then go out to spread the viruses for the winter season or the flu season, right? So they try to be preemptive, and they started weeks ago to have people begin to take their flu shots, right? So they try to attribute it to the fact that you need to take a flu shot because the winter months are coming. However, the research shows that the preparation is really for the time when kids are going to consume more sugar, they're going to go to school, and they're going to be sick. You know, do your own research. When you look into this, ask someone who works in the emergency room, what is the day like after Halloween in the emergency room? And you will be amazed at what they will tell you. It is a crazy, crazy time, a day, or the days even, plural, after Halloween, because the kids come in, they've got flu and they're sick, and it's a terrible scene, to be honest with you. But that's what happens. But that's not all, because then we end up going into November. That's the month we're in right now, right? And here in November, well, Thanksgiving is coming up in just a few weeks. Yeah, we have lots of good food, you know, lots of good yams and candied yams. Oh, wait a minute, candy yams. What do they put in those candy yams? A ton of sugar. And that's not all. Pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie. Grandma made a cake. And we got all manner of sweet things. Oh, and then bring out the sodas and the soft drinks and we'll have a good old time. Well, we're consuming more sugar. Then you've got December, Christmas. Well, candy canes and more cakes and more pies and all those kind of things, right? So now that's 3 months straight of a higher consumption of sugar. And then if that's not enough, you come to January, New Year's Day. People are drinking more than usual across the board. And what happens when people drink more? Well, that alcohol is converted to sugar in the body, depleting the immune system. Oh yeah, that's what happens. The immune system actually is depleted because it fights the sugar, because sugar is an empty calorie that the body really doesn't recognize. So it says, what is that thing? We need to go fight it. Well, when the army of the immune system goes to fight the sugar, well, what happens? It leaves you unguarded. Yeah, that's what happens. So you're like a little child outside of a mighty fortress. Your body's a mighty fortress. But when you begin to consume certain things and your immune system leaves you, it's like leaving you out in the cold without any defense. And anything that wants to enter in will enter in because your defense system is all fighting sugar. So you've got October, November, December, January. Well, what happens in March? Wait a minute, did I skip over a month? January, February. Who can forget February? More chocolate. Valentine's Day, more sugar, right? Chocolate doesn't even really taste good. I don't mean to step on anybody's chocolate toes. You understand? Don't get upset with me for talking about chocolate because people have gotten upset. Let me tell you. I don't want you to get upset. I'm just letting you know that chocolate in its natural state is not very tasty. They have to add milk and they have to add sugar. Now, a lot of people argue for cacao. It does have antioxidant properties, absolutely, because it comes from a pea, a pod, and most of your beans and legumes have antioxidants. But in order for them to make that thing taste good, they got to add sugar. So it's a lot of sugar in that there chocolate. Just know that, keep it in mind, right? Not condemning you, not judging you. You know, I think chocolate tastes wonderful, but it is a thing that will deplete your immune system at a time when we should be fighting, lowering our risk factors, not increasing our risk factors. You understand? So February also is plenty of sugar. March comes, and then you've got St. Patty's Day. More of this happens, more alcohol, more sugar being converted in the body, more fat, and you understand. And then the whole season is topped off in April as we go down that path of more chocolate with Easter. So you understand, it's not really flu season. That's my contention. It's more like sugar season. Now, so here's what you want to do. Avoid sugar. I covered a lot of them, but let me throw a few others in there. There's a lot of sugar going around. The average American eats like, you would not believe if I gave you the statistics of how much sugar the average American consumes by eating candy, cookies, cakes, pies, and soft drinks. Well, that's not all though. When you, there's lots of hidden sugar. So you got to be careful because sugar is hidden in a lot of places, right? Condiments, ketchup, you know, you won't believe this, but one of the most prevalent ingredients found in McDonald's French fries is not salt, it's sugar. This guy has lost it. Go look it up. Sugar keeps you coming back. It's very addictive. And so they add a little sugar, but it's done in a form that you can't taste. Doesn't taste sweet, but they have a way of actually converting it into a type of chemical that they place in it where it actually, the brain still responds to the sugar, the body still responds to the sugar, but you don't taste it. Interesting. So we want to avoid sugar, but what should we eat? We should eat more vegetables and fruit, especially fruits and vegetables that are high in vitamins A, vitamin C, like oranges and lemons, vitamin K, like your greens, the B vitamins, You know, you'll find those in your avocado, and you'll find vitamin E in your almonds, in your nuts, grains and seeds. You want to have zinc. Pumpkin seeds are very high in zinc. Zinc helps to fight because it allows something to take place in the cell that I won't get into all the details on, but oh boy, zinc is powerful. You find that even now in our fight against COVID-19, people are saying, take more zinc, more zinc, more zinc. Well, it's naturally found in spinach, naturally found in pumpkin seeds. So much more I can say about that, but we're just talking about how you can be preventative by the foods that you eat. So eat those sweet potatoes, especially those purple Japanese ones. They are very, very high in vitamin A. And these all help to increase or just boost the immune system. That's preventative. Drink plenty of water, especially when you feel a cold coming on. You should be drinking water all the time, because when you don't drink water, your blood sludges. It gets thick and sticky and gooey. And that doesn't help with perfect circulation. By the way, again, we talked about understanding. Let's understand that. See, perfect circulation is when the blood is moving through your body, back and forth, up and down, all day long at a high rate of speed. You wouldn't believe how fast it's moving. Sometimes it's going faster than your car is when you're just driving around the city, not on the highway, but in the city, your blood is moving on the blood superhighway. And when that's happening, it's carrying with it a few things that are necessary for you to be preventative on that superhighway. For instance, it's carrying with it nutrition, all those vitamins I just talked about, the A, the C, the K, the B, the D, the E, right? All those vitamins are on that superhighway of blood, and it takes things to where it needs to go, and it strengthens you to be able to fight against virus and infection and all those kinds of things. What else is it bringing? It's bringing water. Yes, water is transported throughout the body in the blood. It's circulated, keeps the blood nice and thin as it should be, so that the circulation isn't sluggish, so that things can move through quickly with good velocity, right? So it's important to drink plenty of water, not when you get sick, although you should do that, but you should be drinking plenty of water before that, because you'll find that having hydrated skin and very moist membrane actually is a great barrier against infection. Let me say that again. You need to get that understanding. That's why when you're on a plane, you don't want your nostrils to get all dry. You don't want the membrane to get dry, especially on a plane where you're up there with recirculated air, right? So they often say, well, take a saline spray and spray in your nostrils to keep things moist. When it gets dry, which it will do when you don't have enough water in the body's somewhere between 70 and 75% water, right? You need water, not when you get thirsty, but simply because your body functions. You need water for your brain. You need water for everything. Your knees and joints need water. That's the oil for the synovial fluid. You need water. So, but to prevent viruses and colds, you need to drink plenty of water. Starting right now, drink more water, right? Because if you don't, you're going to find, wow, why did I come down with this cold? That might be the reason. Your blood was very thick. So you've got water going through that blood. You've got nutrition going through that blood. You've got white blood cells in that blood. You've got the waste that your cells are producing, that gets taken away out of the body. It's amazing. You need water. Now, how much and how often? Well, you need 8 ounces a glass of water. This is when you actually get sick. The formula for just regular, normal water is you want to have, according to your weight, you weigh 150 pounds, then you need half of your weight in ounces of water. You should write that down. You need half of your body weight. If you're 150 pounds, half of it would be 75. So that's the amount of water you need every day. That's why you can't just say, well, you need 8 ounce glasses of water. You can't say that, because what if a person is 300 pounds? What if a person is 400 pounds. They need 200 ounces of water, right? There's more blood to circulate around more area, so therefore they need more water, right? What if a person weighs 110 pounds, 120 pounds? That's 60 ounces. So it's half of your body weight in ounces of water. So don't go by that. What I'm talking about here is 8 ounces, an 8-ounce glass of water. And for how often? Every 10 minutes for an hour. You want to stop a cold, or at least make the attempt. You want to start drinking water as soon as you start to feel that tickle in your throat. I cannot say that enough. The moment you skip the tickle, it's time to fight. And I'm giving you ways that you can fight tonight. You want to drink 8 ounces of water every 10 minutes for an hour. Because what is that going to do? That's going to open up those blood vessels more, and then more of your white blood cells can actually make it through and get to areas with the cavalry, with the white blood cells to help you to fight, right? So you want to do that when you feel something coming on. Hygiene. Now, this is no secret. Everybody's been talking for the last 2 years almost. We've been talking about wash your hands, get those, those hand sanitizers. You walk through the airport, they give you hand sanitizers. Everywhere there's hand sanitizers. Well, this is no different. So this is really kind of what you already know, but I'm gonna throw a few other things in there. You want to make sure that you're keeping your high traffic areas cleansed with some type of cleanser, some type of disinfectant that does 99.9%, kills 99.9% of viral infection or some pathogens. So therefore, doorknobs and, different, the toilet seat, that if you're going into a bathroom, you got to be careful. You touch those things, you got to wash your hands, right? So think about all the areas around you, whether it's in your workplace or whether it's in your home. Change your toothbrush, especially if they are around other people who have been sick. Toss that thing out, get another toothpaste. They don't cost that, toothbrush, that is. They don't cost that much. Make sure that you are watching out for those kind of things. And if somebody in your house is sick and they touch the toothpaste, this is just practical stuff, right? They touch the toothpaste. You want to wash that thing down, cleanse it, because now you touch it and then you touch yourself in the face, and then you spread the germ. So here's the thing. Until you've washed your hands thoroughly, I would even prevent it most of the time anyway, do not touch mouth, nose, or your eyes. You don't want to do that. You already know this stuff, but I'm just reminding you because we're entering into that season, right? Usually if you get that eye itch and you don't think about it, you just go whoop and you scratch, you whatever, I don't do that. I do this, and I always close my eye. Just do those practical things. Sneezing into your elbow, you know the deal. Here's another one though. Clean your fruit. Do not just grab unwashed fruit and put it in your mouth. When it comes from the grocery store, providing it wasn't in a bag, or even if it was in a bag, sometimes where they pack them, somebody was coughing, sneezing, and they was packing it, and they didn't tell anybody. You don't know. So never just grab fruit and just start eating it. When people are looking at fruit and do I want this one? Do I want that one? Is this one ripe? They pick them up and they put them down. You don't know what they've got. So be very careful. Always wash your hands, wash your fruit, and watch those high traffic areas that people are touching all the time. Exercise. Yes. Exercise at least 4 to 5 times a week. Walking is excellent. It is an excellent way to actually build up your immune system, to increase your circulation so that your body works for you. It's going to get cold outside. Not a lot of people want to go outside. Personally, this is my personal opinion. I have a treadmill. I have one at home, but I don't necessarily like going to gyms. That's just my personal opinion and personal conviction. Because it's circulated air or recirculated air, I like to be outside in the fresh air, where there's sunshine, right? And I take my water with me. And then I'm walking, doing a brisk walk. I like to do 5 miles. It takes me about an hour and a half. And I like to do it at least 4 or 5 times a week. I get my circulation going. I get my heart rate up. This is excellent for having a strong immune system. So exercising is very, very important. Now, when you're getting sick, you should exercise and do some sort of a brisk walk as well. Here's the last one, sleep, right? Everyone can appreciate a little more sleep. Well, you need it now, more so than ever, because why? When you don't get your sleep, your necessary rest, you deplete also or compromise your immune system. People don't know the value and power of sleep. There's a story about a Japanese boy who was playing one of these multiplayer games, you know, where you're in Japan, but you're playing with someone against someone in America and somebody else in Germany and somebody in Canada, right? And they're playing, and then once you're like defeated this person and you're in a zone, and then somebody says, all right, you beat me, and they go to bed, well, somebody else pops up from some other place in the world. And this particular kid, he stayed on for 7 days straight. Big story. It's happened several times, but this one was a really big one because his mother finally came up to him after being up for 7 days straight, not a wink of sleep. And his mother said, get outside and get some sun and fresh air now. Young boy, he gets up, walks outside, he falls dead because of lack of rest. So I gave you that extreme example. Why? Because we see the value and importance of sleep. Now, none of you hopefully are staying up for 7 days straight, but we may be up on our computer at 2 in the morning. It happens sometimes. You got some work to do, but doing it consistently, and especially now, this is problematic. We need to get our rest. And while you're resting, you should rest from stress. You should rest from stress. You're too blessed to be stressed. So what should you do? Manage your stress, you know, recognize the things that stress you out and find methods. Breathing exercises, I'm going to talk about that in just a moment as we begin to wrap up. You want to find ways to manage your stress. Exercise is a great way to manage your stress. Having trust in something other than what you can accomplish is a great way to manage your stress. So sleep is very, very important. So much more I can say about that, but time is wrapping up, and I want to just kind of give you some very helpful hints and tips. What to do when you're already infected, when you already have an infection. Well, here's what you want to do. You want to fight. You want to fight like a soldier. And here are some of the most practical tips you've ever heard. Number one, you start to get that tickle in your throat. Let me reiterate. You never want to, let me give you an example. Sometimes people will start to get that tickle in their throat. Sometimes it's a scratch, and they're like, oh, I think I'm coming down with something. And you know what they'll do? They'll go lay down. They'll even go to bed or go to sleep. Maybe I just need to rest. Oh, that's the worst thing you can do. You go to sleep. That thing moves from your throat down to your gut, and it has a party down there. And before you know it, you are just in a bad way, because that's where, you know, all that those inflammatory cells say, wait a minute, something's going on. It's time to fight. And you got a fever, and now it's got to run its course. But what if you could prevent it? What if you could stop it once it gets started? What if you could just bring that thing to a halt? Well, let me give you an exercise. Wherever you are, you feel that tickle, you feel that scratch. You're driving your car. Maybe you're at the office, you know, maybe you're somewhere where you can't really go and get something or grab something. You just got to deal with it right there. Well, guess what you can do? You can actually begin to breathe. Yeah. Be as discreet as possible in case you're in the office. You don't be, in the office. You want to just be very discreet, and you just take deep breaths. All through the nose, by the way. Through the nose. Feel your diaphragm. That means your stomach should come out. Feel the diaphragm, and then slowly let the air out of the nose. And you want to do that again and again and again, right where you are, for 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah. Just breathing. That's what you're doing anyway. But now you're being more intentional about it. Why? What does that do? Well, studies show that the head cold that you would have gotten, you won't get it. A lot of people actually avoid it. And you brought that good oxygen in, And there's a powerful study of a man who actually overcame an intentional virus that was injected into him, a cold virus. And he actually just did breathing and he cured the cold. He never got the cold. He never got the flu, right? Even though he was injected with it. And all was used was air, oxygen, breathing, right? So that's one way you can do it. Another thing you can do, if you feel it right there in the throat and it's really pronounced, what you can do is the same breathing exercises in as breathing in and bringing as much air into the diaphragm, not the chest. It's going to come to the chest or through the chest, but you want to go to the stomach or to the gut. Bring all the oxygen there, hold it for as long as you can, and then slowly let it out. Take a few breaths to recover and then do it again. While you're doing it, you want to start to massage your throat right under your chin and down your neck, back and forth for like the same period of time, just massaging. What are you doing? Well, what you're doing is you're opening up the airwaves and the blood vessels, and it will bring up the white blood cells to begin to attack the thing that is attacking you. It will signal to the brain, we need to release everything necessary to fight this cold or virus or whatever this pathogen is, and your brain will do it. Signal, I'm telling you, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. We are truly a work of art and genius. But just massaging your throat, you can be very discreet with that, just like, like this, I'm showing you. And just massage it down the throat, still breathing through your nose, not through the mouth, but through your nose, and massage. And watch what will happen. This is just one of the tips of how you can fight that throat massage. You can also do charcoal tablets. Some of you may not know what that is, but they're called activated charcoal. You can get them from the health food store. Always have them on hand in case you ever start to get that tickle. You take them, you suck on them. They're better than sometimes the zinc lozenges, even though I have that there. You want to do that because sometimes the zinc lozenges or some other type of lozenge actually has sugar in it, and that sugar is going to actually cause you to need to fight the sugar, as I've already explained. So you want to avoid some of those, a lot of those that have sugar. If you find one that is sugar-free, perfect. But until then, a activated charcoal tablet, the tablet, and just suck on that, it will actually help you in fighting. Now, I want to mention one more thing about when your body, you're feeling the tickle, you're feeling like you're getting cold, you're getting a temperature. Here's what you can do. Just check. It's an easy self-check. Check your forehead, right? Just check the temperature. Nothing scientific or official. Just place your hand there and feel your forehead. What's the temperature? And then go to the back of your arm and see what the temperature is on the back of your arm. Then on the side of your thigh. Check right above your knee. And then on your foot. And if you find that the temperatures are different to the touch, you need to go and put on more clothes, as I said earlier in the presentation. Cover your body, have a balance over the entire body. And what you want to do is you want to have the body start to circulate freely, all the good stuff that's in that blood to bring healing to your body. Again, check the forehead. That's where you start. Then you want to check the back of the arm, and then the side of the thigh, the top of the knee, and then on your feet. You're just checking the different points of your body to see if there is a consistency in temperature. If your arms are cold, you need to cover them, put on more clothing. Last thing I'll tell you is how to make nature's flu shot. Now that's the thing I'm going to give to the group, the team here who has put this together. It's my own recipe. You want to get this recipe. I'm going to tell you the ingredients, but then for the measurements, you want to go to their website. I'll give it to them, and then you can download it, write it down, or whatever you want to do. And it is, here are the ingredients. You want lemons. Yeah, lemons, cayenne pepper, garlic, ginger, honey, pineapple juice. Again, lemons, garlic, cayenne pepper. Did I say ginger? Ginger again. You want some raw, unfiltered honey, not the sugary stuff, raw, unfiltered, and then pineapple juice. You blend all of it together and you have yourself what I like to call nature's flu shot. You take it, you make yourself a nice batch of it, and whenever you, not even when you start to feel sick, right now, make it and then begin to just drink it. Just a couple of ounces every day, but you don't want to do it more than 10 days to 2 weeks because the body becomes immune to it. So you want to build up your immune system with it and then stop. Stop about 21 days and then start again if you feel it necessary. But you get exposed to someone, drink it, drink a little more. But all you need is about an ounce or two every day of nature's flu shot and see how your body will respond and protect you. I hope this has been very, very insightful for you, educational, instructional, and a blessing. And at this time, if there are some questions, I'm happy to answer any of them.
Wow, thank you, Rico, for that. And I'm telling you, you're absolutely right. So much information. I mean, and you didn't mention anything about medication. Nothing about medication. All these things that we can do is in our kitchens or in our closets, that we can definitely get more healthier. But before we get into the Q&A, and if you have any questions or answers, if you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat. If you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat. And I'm going to ask if you can stop sharing your screen for just a second, Rico.
I can stop.
All right. Because we are going to put some information up on the screen right about now, and it's pertaining to our next program. And our next program that we will be having, since we're coming up into the Thanksgiving season, and Rico talked a little bit about that, about how much sugar we consume. Well, hopefully you won't be consuming that much sugar, or no sugar, put it like that. But as we come into the Thanksgiving season, we're going to have on November 16th, we're going to have a plant-based cooking class. And you don't want to miss this. It's going to be all vegan food. That means no egg, cheese, milk, all plant-based. So you don't want to miss it. If you know someone that will be interested in just learning more how to take care of these wonderful bodies that God has given us, you have to be here. It's going to be the same channel that we're on this evening, but also we can send you a reminder if you can put your name in the chat, your email address and name in the chat box, and Merlene will get that information just so that we can make sure you are informed of our next program. So remember, November 16th will be the next program, and it will be all plant-based, especially going into the Thanksgiving season. And actually, this will be the last program of this year. We're gonna kind of take a little break there, and then we'll be back in January, God's willing, for our next program. But again, give us your information, your name and your email address. We will let you know definitely when our next program will be. Okay? So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat box. And now I will bring up Merlene, who will be asking Rico the questions. So, Miss Merlene.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you, Rico, for that great presentation. I thought I knew a lot, but I learned a whole lot more. Just a clarification, when you were talking about breathing in, like when you start to feel a cold, you said that we breathe in through our mouths? Sorry,
Nope.
through our nose.
Through our nose and out. So inhale through the nostrils, exhale through the nostrils.
Through nostrils as well. Okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Holding the air in the diaphragm and chest. In other words, Feel the diaphragm first, and then you go just a step further into the lungs, and then you hold it. You'll start to feel a little like, woo, and then you release, and you feel that release. You feel calmer, right? But it's very effective.
All right, excellent to know. I like that one. And the drinking of water for an hour, every 10 minutes, a glass
Every
of,
10 minutes.
I like that. Okay, so we do have some questions that were submitted here. And the first one I have here is about honey. Is honey a good substitute for sugar?
Okay, very good question. Honey is one of the best substitutes for sugar. Now, sugar, when we talk about sugar, because honey is also sugar, basically, right? Sugar is sugar is sugar is sugar. No matter how you slice it, it's still sugar, however you slice it, right? But there are good and there's bad, and there's actually the ugly and the worse, right?
Okay.
And there's a whole scale. I won't go into it now, but just as it pertains to sugar. When I was talking about sugar, I'm talking about white, refined, processed, crystallized, poisonous sugar. Yeah, I use that word poisonous for a reason, because it is poisonous. It's deadly. It does it does no good for you, only hurts you. So honey is a much better substitute, because honey, and by the way, just a bit of trivia, is the only thing on the planet that doesn't spoil. Doesn't spoil. You can go into the tombs from the Egyptians from 3,000 years ago, pull out that honey, and they have, and the honey is not spoiled. It's still good. It may crystallize, but it's still good honey. They heat it up and then they can use it again, right? But honey is a good substitute, but you have to exercise temperance, because it's still a sweetener. So in other words, if a person is pre-diabetic or diabetic, they need to be careful with the amount of honey that they use, because it's still a sweetener and it still feathers the nest. We need to reduce our sugar consumption because we already do too much of it. But honey is a good sweetener. So when you like have an herbal tea, honey is good. If you're having some oatmeal and you want to put just a little bit of honey just for sweetness, you can do that. Now, my preferred way, the best sugar, you want to know the best sugar?
Sure.
It's when you have that oatmeal and you put some blueberries on it, you put some raisins in it, you put some bananas chopped up on it, and you allow fruit to sweeten your cereal versus honey or anything else. But honey is a better alternative.
Okay, great. I think you mentioned something about raw honey. Is that the type is best to get?
Thank you for asking that question, that clarifying question. Absolutely. The best sugar, the best honey is going to be your raw, unfiltered honey.
Unfiltered. Okay.
And you can find that at Costco. You can even find that at Walmart. Now, when you look at that shelf at Walmart or Target and they have the honey up there, you will see a lot of them that are super cheap. Now, what they do is they give the bees sugar water. It's cheaper to do it that way. And they'll make the honey from it, but it's as bad as the sugar water that was made from, that the honey was made from. So it's devoid of nutrition and it's devoid of minerals. Therefore, it's going to be just as bad as anything else. So raw, unfiltered honey.
Okay. Excellent. Very good. Now I am going through the questions. I may not go exactly in the order that they came because I want to do what's relative to what you were speaking on just now. And one question is, what are some creative ways to help children and the elderly follow these principles, especially if they don't want to follow these principles? Solve that problem.
That's such a funny question. It's funny because it's almost like saying, how can I be creative in forcing people to do it, right? And so we need to address that first. You can't force anybody. You know, the old adage, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink, right? So what you do is, in the same way that I'm doing with people here, there are people who are listening to what I'm saying and they're saying, wait a minute, I don't really want to exercise. I don't want to walk that 5 miles. I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to, what, a plant-based, right? there are people who are feeling that way, but you know what? What we do is we educate, educate, educate
Mhm.
pleasantly and compassionately. You know, we should love the people that we are trying to share with, children or otherwise. Love them, you know, keep sharing with what's best, and then they have to make their own decision. But I understand the question. How can you be creative? I think there are creative ways to actually have kids. You know, you don't have to get kids to try to exercise. They're gonna do that, right? Because they got that energy to burn. A lot of times the challenge is on eating. I'll never forget I thought I was super dad when my sons loved to eat broccoli, and we would say, "Can I have more broccoli?" I was like, I was patting myself on the back and, you know, I thought I was super dad. And then one day somebody gave them a lot of candy and some potato chips, and they didn't like broccoli anymore. So that's kind of what happens, you know. So you have to be careful what you get. You got to be balanced. If you're going to give both those things, well, guess what? It's not that there are, you know, that there's something wrong with them. It's what happens in the brain. When you give the brain sugar and sweet things and things that have been made to trick the brain that they're nutritious, then the brain's going to light up and is always going to want those things. Now, what can you do creatively, food-wise? Find really delicious recipes that match what they love. Kids love pizza. Well, guess what? Right now, there's no reason why people can't make really good pizza that's from a plant-based source. I mean, all of the restaurants that are out there now, Blaze, Mod Pizza, I'm forgetting, there's lots of them around the country, but they are doing a plant-based version of it and people love them. So we just have to, those are creative ways, is to find what people already like and give it them. Don't say anything, just give it to them. Don't say anything, just say, hey, how you like this? And you'll find a beautiful way to have kids have a salad is make them a sandwich, like with avocado, and put some tomatoes on it, and put some, you know, some lettuce on it. And, you know, I used to make that for my sons and they were like, this is so good. It was a sandwich, but if you said, hey, let's have a salad with those things, they say, I don't want a salad. So that's one of the ways that you can do it.
So throw that lettuce and pita bread with the tomatoes and all that.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Oh, I just want to mention, I can't get over this thing with McDonald's and the fries with the sugar. That's like evil. That's terrible.
That's why sometimes we call it a great health controversy.
Okay, so here's a question from Sunshine. I see two of them related. What to do for an almost 3-year-old who has a cough, stuffy nose? She says, wakes up the 3-year-old at night. His cough has been getting rougher. 3-year-old.
Well, if he's coughing, this 3-year-old, then there's something that's somewhere within the eustachian tube. That's ear, nose, throat. Ear, nose, eyes, throat, right? So there's something there. And a lot of times, the reason why there's something there is because something was put there. The thing that's the greatest culprit is dairy products. Dairy products like milk and cheese will cause a lot of extra mucus. And you and I know that when you've got mucus that's dripping like a postnasal drip down into the throat, the first reaction naturally is to get rid of it. So imagine a child sleeping and he's got post-nasal drip. Now, if the child actually is not on dairy products, then we need to have another conversation. But if the child is taking in dairy products, especially milk and cheese, then the body's producing more mucus than that child can get rid of. And it's now manifesting as a post-nasal drip. And in the night while sleeping, he probably feels like, oh, I'm choking, I'm choking to death. And the body, we would do that if something went down the wrong, the wrong pipe. We wake up and we go cough or whatever. So that's what's happening. So I would first look at why, reason from cause to effect, instead of looking at the symptom and trying to take care of the symptom with something, because the cure might be in the cause or eliminating the cause. So I would look at what the child is consuming. If it's not dairy, then I would look at the conditions around the child. Are there dust mites? Is it a dusty room? Is it a dusty sleeping environment? You know, night air is sweet. Crack the window. Let fresh air come into the bedroom while the child is sleeping. And then have the child tested for any kind of food allergies. You can do a battery of tests, and it might be something in the food. You'd be surprised. So I would do a thorough evaluation before medicating.
Okay. Sunshine, I hope that helps your question. Here's a little different question. Question is, how do you help a person who has limited mobility maintain daily bowel evacuation?
That's really kind of well, see, the question is presupposing that because they don't have mobility, that they don't have normal evacuation or bowel movement, which is a false premise. A person can be eating a certain way, plant-based, in other words, having a high fiber diet without a lot of mobility, and they're still going to have, good bowel movements. Because the body naturally has, yes, exercise increases our ability to be regular, but there's something that's involuntary. That means you've got voluntary muscle movement where you may go for a walk, or you may do jumping jacks or some other kind of calisthenics. But there's also involuntary muscle movement, and that's called the peristalsis. There's peristaltic action. That's the wave-like movement inside the bowels. In fact, it's throughout your entire, digestive tract. From the time you put food in your mouth, it moves this way because of peristalsis. You can eat while standing on your head upside down, and it's not so much gravity that's going to help, it's the peristaltic action. The food is still going to go down to your stomach, or up in this case when you're upside down, right? So peristalsis is your friend. It's good. It is stimulated by fiber. Good fiber stimulates the peristalsis. Water actually is necessary for regularity. So if the person, just on the basics, the person is having issues, then with constipation, first, make sure that there's plenty of fiber in the diet. Secondly, that they're drinking plenty of water. A lot of times, older people on medications, they only drink water when they take their medication. Sometimes there are medications that prevent them from drinking water. Doctors say, well, no, you can't drink water while you're on this medication because you'll retain water. That's a whole nother conundrum, but nonetheless, I'm just letting you know the basics of how a person can do well, even when they're not all that mobile. Drink plenty of water, plant-based diet, high fiber foods, and then there's some things that you can do, some herbs that will assist with that, but I would consult a doctor. I don't want to give any kind of herbs that could be used. I think that's more appropriate for someone to go to their doctor and say, hey, what can I use that is a natural stimulant to move the bowels? And there's tons of things out there.
Okay. And along those lines, trying to get especially older people to drink water, is it okay to, I guess, add some, like maybe every time they drink water to have either lemons or maybe a little bit of honey or something that would give it some kind of flavor to encourage them to drink it? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Give you the
Sure.
water? Okay.
If that is something that motivates them to drink, then by all means do it. Warm water with lemon is excellent in the morning for stimulating the bowels.
Okay.
Warm water, warm water.
Not hot, warm, just.
Not hot, warm.
Okay. Very good. So here's a question, and the complete question is, what about cold feet? So I'm assuming you were talking about the body needs to be the same temperature throughout. What if someone has cold feet, I guess, in particular?
That's a circulation problem. Person has cold feet, that's a circulation problem. It could be a problem because they're not exercising. There could be a few things, but it's a problem with circulation is at the heart of it. That's the root cause. And there's something that every good medical missionary understands, and that's something called a where you want to use, you can use Epsom salt, you can use regular salt, something coarse called a salt glow, and that's massaging the feet and the legs, toward the heart, and the hands. If you have cold hands, same thing. You actually draw the blood to that area. Exercise is going to help. Movement is key. Again, in order to have good health, we must have perfect circulation. And in every way that you can stimulate the circulation, whether it's exercise, whether it's drinking water, whether it's doing different types of massages, you need to do those things to actually assist. I like the idea of doing all of that, the soft glow and massaging the feet, all between the toes and moving up towards the heart, to get the blood to come to the surface, right? You can actually put a little bit of peppermint in with the Epsom salt with water and massage that in, because peppermint brings blood to the surface as well, surface of the skin, that is. That's why it feels cool once you put it on your feet. Yeah. So here's something that can be done. And again, it can be done with cold hands and cold feet to stimulate circulation so that you don't have cold feet all the time.
Okay, excellent. Okay, what is the best types of different exercises to achieve perfect circulation and opening any blockages in the system?
Blockages, I'm assuming that those are blockages in the heart, like in the arteries, like occlusion. If you were to ask Dr. Dean Ornish, who worked with Bill Clinton, or talk to Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who have done a tremendous amount of research, including at the Mayo Clinic, and all that kind of research that deals with cardiovascular disease. They would say, plant-based diet, plant-based diet, plant-based diet, right? That's the first thing. So anybody who's really interested in dealing with that issue, you want to join that cooking class. I think I heard that plant-based cooking class, November 16th. You want to come and begin to understand what that looks like, what it tastes like, and join the movement, if you will. But in addition to a plant-based diet, it would also be important to just walk. You'd be surprised, just walking, but understanding the technique of good walking. First of all, it should be fast enough. Now, you don't have to start out that way. You just start a little bit at a time. If you can't walk for 30 minutes, do 10, then do 20, then do 30. Work your way up to an hour, right? When you walk, you should swing your arms as you walk, walking briskly. Try to find areas where there are hills, peaks and valleys, so that you're going up, so it's very intermittent, yeah? And then you should walk heel to toe. When you walk and you're trying to increase your circulation, the greatest impact should be on your heel, and then the foot should roll. When you do that, you pump blood back up to the heart. When you first tried, I did it, and I was sharing with someone like a month or so ago, and we were on a walk in the Pacific Northwest, and they did it for 5 minutes and said, man, this is hard. And I said, well, you have to work your way up to it, because you don't think about it. Most people walk very flat-footed, and they're not really getting all the benefits of walking. So I don't want to get into, get on this type of, treadmill, or this type of exercise device, or this exercise class. Start with just the basics. Walking is amazing if you do it briskly, if you're moving your arms, and if you are actually using the proper technique when you walk, heel to toe, pumping that blood as your heel hits the ground, and then you roll down to your toes.
Okay, I'm trying to picture that, but I think I'll try that.
Watch yourself. You have to be intentional.
Mhm.
I had this confirmed recently as I was had injured my knee and my hip, and I had to do physical therapy. And I knew this from my training, but the physical therapist, who was a good one, he said, "Let me see you walk." And then I walked, and he says, "You don't know how to walk. You're not walking properly." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I know about walking." And then he showed me, and I paid attention to how I was doing it, and I wasn't. And then once I started to do it, then quickly my knee and hip recovered as he prescribed it. So it's very important.
Wow.
It seems like a small thing, but any really good physical therapist will tell you, walking and walking properly, you'll get the best benefits out of it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sunshine asked a question about the 3-year-old, and she said that the 3-year-old is not on dairy, and she thanks you for your answer as well.
Amen.
So vitamin D supplements, how much should be used?
That's a question. That's a question that a person really can't answer without knowing more information. If a person has high vitamin D, where there's somewhere between 60 and 100, which are supposed to be those are the normal. That's the normal range. Then they don't need a lot of vitamin D. Now, you don't get as much. Whatever is taking place in the cosmos and in the firmament, we don't know, but people don't get the necessary vitamin D that they should, as we normally do or should receive. Because vitamin D is not produced by the sun, but it's when the sun actually hits our skin, and then it actually converts the cholesterol, the good cholesterol in the liver, into vitamin D, which functions more like a hormone than it does a vitamin. So that's how it happens. But of course, you can do it by eating certain things and drinking this or that are, enriched with it, right? But it's because the sun has hit that plant or the sun has hit that animal, right? And it just stored up in the muscle tissue. But it does the same thing in us, right? So, but in terms of supplementation, we do need to supplement now, because we just, there are people who work in the sun all day long and their numbers are still low. And in which case you do vitamin D3. Vitamin D3, that's a vegan version of it. And if a person is lacking and they're somewhere between 0 and 25, they are in a danger zone, because you need vitamin D for a strong immune system, as we talk about, staving off virus infections and so forth during this flu season. You need a strong immune system, and vitamin D plays a critical role in that. If you are under 25, you need the mega dose, 5,000 international units. Sometimes the doctor may even say 10,000, but you don't want to just go and pick up some from Costco. You want a good vitamin D3, right? If you're somewhere between 25 and 50, you don't need as much, maybe 1,000 milligrams. But I really would consult the doctor to make sure, instead of just like guessing. Oh, I should say, check with your primary care physician, have them do the blood work and see what your numbers are. Everybody should know where their vitamin D. Always ask, because if you don't ask, they really don't check it. But you should ask.
Okay, great. Going a little bit back to sweeteners, is monk fruit an okay sweetener, or is it considered processed?
In terms of, from what I know about it, it seems to be one that is excellent in terms of it as an alternative that doesn't have a lot of, metabolic effects for diabetics and things like that. I've heard only good things, but I really can't say for sure. It's it's relatively new, but everything that I've seen is singing the praises of monk fruit sweetener. But that's really all I can say. I've heard good things.
Okay.
And people who are using it, I think it's expensive, but I think there are other ways. There are other things. There are lots of options. One of the ones, if you happen to be diabetic and you want to have a sweetener, coconut coconut sugar is
Mhm.
very good, comes from the flour of the coconut. That's where they take it
Okay.
from. And it's low on the glycemic index, so it doesn't affect you negatively. So that's a really good sweetener. And there's a vast array. There's sucronon, there's cane sugar, organic cane sugar, turbinado sugar. But again, sugar is sugar is sugar. Now, one that I
Control.
would avoid is in addition to, because they looked at yes, in a study, they looked at the whole spectrum of sugars, of sweeteners. And they looked at the worst, and that was the white crystallized poisonous sugar. Next to it was agave, because it is highly processed.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. I hate to tell you, but it's highly processed, you know. And at the end of the best sugar was date sugar because it's so high in minerals. So as you go down, you lose minerals, and in the processing, they lose minerals, but certain sugars retain those minerals, like your coconut palm sugar, your date sugar, and things like that.
Okay, great. JR says, thank you. We have a couple other questions. Jeff says, water goes right through me. I tried to use Himalayan pink salt with water, but I'm not sure it's working. You mentioned something about drinking every 10 minutes. What do you recommend?
Well, when you're drinking every 10 minutes, you want to be running to the bathroom because that's what you're trying to flush the system. So when you're doing that, that's the purpose. But just for your normal drinking, I have found there's trace minerals. You can buy it in a bottle and you drop trace minerals, because basically what's happening is water often is dead water, right? When it's reverse osmosis, it's gone through a machine. If it's distilled water, it's kind of dead water. Spring water, that tends to have inorganic matter in it. So our water, the water that we consume, is not always perfect, and certainly if it's tap water, forget about it. I have a well on my property, and so it's full of a lot of inorganic matter, but I kind of drink reverse osmosis water and that water just to kind of keep it mixing it up a little bit. But you can take the trace minerals and you can drop it into your water, and that will add the minerals back to the water, and then it slows down the process of the water moving through your body. It gets into the cell. The reason why we run to the bathroom so much, providing you don't have an enlarged prostate or something like that, or you're diabetic, because then that would also cause you to run to the bathroom a lot. It's probably because the water's dead water, it's not making it into the cell, and it's just going right through you. But add minerals to it, and then it slows it down. Also, instead of just drinking your water, it's said that many have said that if you chew your water, mixing it with the enzymes in your mouth, so in other words, swishing it around in your mouth first and then drinking it, that also will add little something to the water so that it slows it down.
Okay, great.
Thing is, drink your food, but chew your water.
Okay.
You know what I mean by that, right? Chew your food so well that it becomes
liquid, yes. And your water. Okay. Easier said than done.
For sure.
At least, at least two more questions.
Okay.
Which should I take first? Okay, so this is from Sunshine. Boost immune system for pregnant women and for flu. So I guess how to for pregnant women and to avoid the flu.
The woman is pregnant, she wants to avoid the flu.
Could be.
I don't think I've said anything that was specific to the exclusion of pregnant women.
Okay. So all you said would apply also to
plant-based diet, breathing exercises, drinking plenty of water. I mean, it's everything that a very responsible pregnant woman would want to have, to have a healthy child.
Okay, this may be the last question.
Okay.
And it says, if someone has COVID, if someone has COVID, how do you fight it?
How do you get rid of it?
How, I guess, I think that's the ultimate goal, to get rid of it.
You
Yeah.
haven't, your body is, if you already got it,
Mm-hmm.
and so your body, and you're not dead, you're fighting it, right?
Okay, right.
Your body's building
Naturally.
up antibodies, right? So you want to overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of things that are out there. I'm going to go ahead and say what the research says, which could be controversial, but I'm going to say it because there's research to back it up. Ivermectin. Ivermectin is powerful. Quercetin, which is naturally produced in several vegetables. You can get quercetin. It is an antioxidant. But ivermectin is the thing that they say it's a dewormer for horses, and people like to say, oh, that's a horse pill, and they made lots of fun about it. There was even this controversy between Dr. Sanjay Gupta of CNN and Joe Rogan on the show, but Joe Rogan proved, as he pinned Dr. Sanjay Gupta in the corner and said, look, why was the network saying that I took horse pills when there's plenty of research to show that ivermectin is a prophylactic that actually can be used to treat COVID-19? And Dr. Sanjay, you can see it on YouTube, or go to Joe Rogan's podcast, and he had to admit that they were not correct in how they characterized it, and they are finding now that in India and other places, people who are using it with great success. I think personally, you do your own research. But look into many of these things. I'm only saying, by the way, everything that peer-reviewed studies are showing, and many a doctor who are pointing to how to treat, because that's something that we did not do in the early stages of COVID-19, was to look for treatments. Everyone waited for this savior vaccine rather than looking at how people could treat it once people got it. That would be my answer.
Okay, and ivermectin, and you said the other one was quercetin. Is that with a Q?
Quercetin. Yeah, Quercetin. Quercetin.
Okay. Got you. And Jeff, thanks you for the water answer. And I believe I have gotten all the questions. 2 seconds. Any other questions? You can unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, we do thank you so much, Rico, for this information. It has been very valuable for me, for sure. I know I'm going to apply some of these things for myself.
Wonderful.
And yeah, thank you so much. And you said, Jeff, you're going to share with us a link that we can share with others.
I will send the recipe to you, and you guys can post that somewhere, but I highly recommend that people begin to do it. I have lots of friends who are even being much more preventative, even as it relates to COVID-19, by taking it, stopping, and taking it and stopping, but keeping that as a thing that boosts their immune system, and really, literally, is what you can get from your grocery store, and use that.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So if anyone else, you may want to, if you are not signed up with us, you can go ahead and leave your email address, and we'll make sure that we share with you that information. And at this time, we have a poll that we are going to share just now. Just a couple of questions. And there it is. We'll have you respond to those questions for us so that we can improve what we're doing. And we did announce that this is we have one more presentation for the year. And then with your feedback, we hope to come back with some other great presentations. We thank you all for your attendance. And again, thank you so much, Rico, for your presentation. And I am bringing back Maury.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Marlene, for the Q&A session. And thanks again, Rico. And with that said, I'm just going to ask if you can just close us out in the word of prayer. Rico.
Happy to do so. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much for this forum to be able to share and that people can come and to learn, that they may remain healthy as we enter into yet another phase of a time where there could be, a surge, and certainly where there could be widespread flu and colds. So Lord, we want to be preventative. We want the people to be healthy. So I lift up all those who have listened and heard, and I pray that they have listened with understanding and that they may make application to the things that they've learned, that they may see that your ways are best, that your ways, while slow, they are powerful, and that you've made us to cooperate with those things that have been shared tonight. So Lord, keep us healthy, keep us strong, bless our families. We thank you for this team and this ministry. May you continue to prosper it and prosper those in good health who have heard tonight, is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And thank you again. And if you haven't, please put your email address in the chat so we can keep you informed of our next program.
Good night, everyone.
With that said, have a good evening.